Hey guys, so I've been looking at what other folks are doing with the Bloodlands build, and I noticed quite many don't include untimely death aspect, which kinda made me wonder, why not? Because so far I've always included it in my blood builds. So I did a bit more digging, and someone pointed out to me that it only gives additional damage. I was like, no way. That will be worthless, right? Like they won't make an item that's worthless like that. So I looked up the aspect again on my character. I think it's on my glove here. Go to the aspect port, and each percent of your maximum life you heal beyond 100% grants you 0.5% additional bonus. God damn it. Well, this case, I guess they're right. Like, this one, the one I have, adds up to 44%, and 44% additional over damage power is absolutely nothing, and definitely not worth the aspect slot. Like, 44% or 60% at max is nothing when I have like almost 2000 overpower damage. It's totally not worth the slot. But so before I decided to dump it forever, I thought I'd give it a test just to make sure. So the way we're gonna test this is pretty simple. We're gonna test our overpower damage without untimely death stacks, and then after that with the untimely death stacks. So first here we're gonna test it without the untimely death stacks. As you can see, I don't have any untimely death stacks. And then if we roll over, we can see that we have 149,205 damage, whatever. Now moving on to the next part, we'll do the similar thing, but as you can see, I chugged up some potion, and I have 88 stacks of untimely death. And if we look back at my aspects that I actually have, it says I get up to 44% bonus, which checks out. I need 88 stacks for the maximum benefit. So if we roll this, you're gonna see my lance is gonna hit, and it's gonna deal 216,772 damage. Alright, time for some math now. How much of an increase that is? So we divided 216 blah 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 with the previous number 149 blah blah blah, and what we get is 41.45, which in other words is an increase of 45%. And hey, guess what? That checks out exactly with our aspect. Well, not exactly. I think the difference is because I do have a tiny bit of fortify, with skewed the number a tiny bit, but I think it's pretty much obvious that these number corresponds to each other. So yeah, there you go. You have it. It's not additive at all. This is a multiplicative bonus, and it's a big one. If you have the maximum roll, you can go all the way to 60%. And I actually wonder about experimenting if it's worth trying to put this on like a two-hander, which means you can get up to 120% bonus, which more than double your overpower damage. So I think we can safely say that this is the best overpower multiplier. And if you're following until this point, that's awesome. I do have some more digging to do, but I totally get it. If you just want to leave the video and go with that, you know what the biggest multiplier for overpower is now. But I do encourage you to stick around to dig a bit on understanding why it is multiplicative and not additive. Aside from Diablo 4, I play this trading card game called Magic the Gathering quite a lot. And if you're familiar with Magic or perhaps any other trading card game, precise wording really matters. It really matters because it dictates the exact rules that needs to be understood by all players. In Diablo 4, however, it seems a bit less consistent with a lot of the wordings. So there's probably a good chance that Blizzard just did the tooltip wrong. Very possible. However, before we go into that conclusion, I want to try to see if I can find any way to rationalize it. So let's see how other similar things in the game that also buffs our overpower damage compare to untimely death. So first, let's look at the skill. And what we're looking for here is Tides of Blood. Where is it? Tides of Blood. Tides of Blood says your blood skills deal 15% multiplicative increased overpower damage. This bonus is doubled while you are healthy. Okay? That's one example. Let's look at another one. Let's go to our Paragon board, actually. And let's look for the Dominate glyph. Where is that? Right here. So Dominate says for every 5 willpower purchased within range, you deal plus 29.7% increased overpower damage. Pretty clear. It indicates that it's an additive bonus here. Another place we can look at is a Paragon note. It's a legendary note called Bloodbath. I think it's over here. Bloodbath says attacks that are guaranteed to overpower deal 50% multiplicative increased overpower damage. Okay. And there's one more in our Book of the Dead that says I think it's Skeletal Mage. Yep, Bone Mage. If you sacrifice the Bone Mage, your overpower damage is increased by 54% X, but you can no longer raise Skeletal Mages. So, if we look at all of them, we can notice a similarity that all of these have. I think they're pretty consistent with how they're being worded in that they increase our actual overpower damage. Like, increase is the word that is consistently used between all of these, whether it's additive or multiplicative. And to me, it seems like maybe what they mean or how to interpret it is that it directly affects the one overpower damage number in the formula. I don't know if that makes sense, but let's, in comparison, look at the untimely death aspect here. Untimely death says each percent of your maximum life you heal beyond 100%, and now it's the important part, grants you 0.5%, and it indicates this is additive because of the plus sign, of course. But it says bonus overpower damage on your next overpowering attack up to 44% bonus. So note here that the wording here is quite different from the previous one we see that mentioned that those gives you an increase to your overpower damage, where this one grants us bonus overpower damage on our next overpower attack. So the way I see it, and one interpretation of this might be that this effect here, it does not increase the actual original overpower number that we deal to our enemy. Instead, this is a bonus on top of that overpower damage. So whatever our overpower damage result to, as we saw in our testing earlier, we will get a bonus on top of that. And the 44% therefore is a multiplicative bonus because it is applied at the end on top of our original overpower damage. And the rationale of the plus sign there, which often indicates additive, is that just refers to the amount of bonus we can accumulate. So I think the fact that the wording here is quite different from any other effect to our overpower damage is, I think, at least to me, it feels that Blizzard does differentiate how these are worded and how, therefore, the bonus damage is applied. I don't know if this makes any sense to you at all, but that's my theory and that's what I got. And I think in that way, at least, it kind of makes sense, and I can see why this ends up being multiplicative effectively, even though there's a plus sign in the bonus there. Yeah, let me know what you think. I'm curious how you think about this. I think, let's say, even if my interpretation of this is correct, Blizzard can do way better job at wording this so it's not as confusing. I bet a lot of you, and I would have thought that this is probably just additive bonus. I was ready to ditch it, but yeah, it's not, and turns out it's pretty good. So yeah, definitely, I don't know, give it a try. With that, I will stop babbling about this not so important thing that you probably don't care, but yeah, I will see you next time.